Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I just wanted to roll the new intro that is more of an advertising intro. It's pinned to my Twitter account. I just wanted to get the feedback of what people thought. This was, of course, brought to me by the incredibly talented Mr. Ripley, known only as Sean Labrie. I needed something to pin to the channel to basically show that we do in fact cover all consoles. Hopefully it brings subs, actually money well spent. We are going to, of course, continue our regular intros as we have, for each show that he has made. But look, folks, here we are. It's Monday morning. It's now Monday afternoon, 12:01, and we have over 150 people here. We have breaking news right, left, and center. It turns out that we've already got an early beat, Fuzzy Belvedere, on how Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be reviewed, and it's probably getting a 4. And we're still 4 years out, folks. We have grand information that, yes, Elder Scrolls 6, as we all had suspected, is in fact going to be Xbox whatever exclusive. Now, whether that's releasing on X and the S, or the new Xbox platform in 2028, it has been confirmed that through the documents in all of the legal troubles that have been going back and forth with ABK, which should be closing in the next week or so, it looks like Elder Scrolls 6 is going to piss off, the exclusivity is going to piss off a lot of the PlayStation Nation, who are populating journalists within GameSpot and IGN and such. And we're going to get into that because I had a very intriguing conversation over the weekend with Paul Tassi, live for everyone to see. He had put out a tweet, and of course, being the gentleman gamer that I am, I responded in kind several times, and so did he. And of course, we chopped it up. We walked away disagreeing on the subject matter, but we walked away as friends because I really do like Paul Tassi as a writer. But folks, what you're going to see is Motorfest. This is the new joint from Ubisoft that is very much like Forza Horizon. It is graphically genius. It's not as polished per se, like in the way that you make your selections and you drive around the world. But you'll see, I got almost 2 hours of footage. Yes, you ride motorcycles. Yes, you can fly planes. Yes, you can drive boats. And of course, you can drive cars. Please check out the footage that I got with my Ubisoft Plus membership. And wow, the whole $120 edition just ready for me to download. It's well worth it, folks. But listen, I've talked enough. Fuzzy Belvedere, good morning, kind sir. Got a chance to check you out with some of the stuff that you've been up to. Listen, real good show on Friday with Mav and the gang. Some big opinions. How are you feeling this fine afternoon?
Oh, I'm doing great. Glad to be here with you guys. And man, I haven't been on Twitter much because of all of the gaming on Starfield. But Forza. I was about to say Forza Motorfest. As far as the Crew Motorfest, looks pretty cool. Unfortunately, I probably won't get around to it until after I kind of slow down a bit on Motorsport. Forza Motorsport coming out next month. But
yes,
man, there's just so many games and not enough time to play them. But glad to be here. Some awesome breaking news. We kind of figured it'd be the case with Elder Scrolls 6, but it we'll just see how the journalists handle that one as well. They'll probably.
Oh, I know how they're going to handle it. All right, they're already starting to type. Okay, so check it out, folks. Let's call a spade. We're going to get into the journalistic integrity or the lack of there in gaming media. Listen, folks, I'm not here to rebel rouse. I'm here to speak the truth. And as we know, and as we've seen from the way that Starfield was treated, it appears that there is such thing as the Xbox tax. Now, Paul Tassi disagrees, and he disagrees for his reasons. And you know something, folks, that's perfectly okay. We can disagree and still be friends. I disagree with him. I think that it's clear as day. He made a point on Twitter that I think maybe got away from what he was attempting to do, but we'll break that down. Of course, we're going to be covering some of the big numbers coming out of the UK. And of course, we're talking Starfield. And that story broke today. Like I said, folks, this is going to be a fun 90 plus minutes. Get ready. Web Dave, I was there last night. I got to hang out with you, Retro and the gang. Great show as always. How you feeling, sir?
I'm feeling really good, Boom. Man, thank you for joining us last night in the chat. It was awesome.
My honest.
And everybody gave you lots of flowers, which well deserved, as always.
I don't need flowers. I just need friends. That's plenty.
Well, you've got plenty of those, buddy. That's for sure. That's for sure. Man, this is going to be a good show today. My boss was already messaging me, and I'm like, look, I've got a show to do with Boom. I'll get to you a little.
How dare they? How dare they? They didn't message me.
Boom, I'm ready for it, man. Let's get into it.
Listen, folks, thank you so much for being here. And last but not least, he missed us last week because he was having some serious power issues. And of course, the crazy one has returned. What's up, brother? Yes. How you feeling?
Oh, man, Mr. BoomStick, happy to join you guys this week, especially with so much cool stuff going on. Oh, my God, emails dropping by. I mean, this is going to be one hell of a week. We got 3 games coming to Game Pass. I mean, we got Party Animals. We got Liza P. And not only that, we also have Payday coming out this week. Wow, it's going to be insane, man. Super hyped, super excited. Hey, happy to join you also. Let's get into this show because, man,
absolutely.
That Xbox tax,
it's real. It's real. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that and again, the more I think about it, the more I kind of sit back in the chair. I kind of wonder if Keighley is already positioning his statement as to why Starfield isn't in the Game of the Year running. I don't know if it's going to miss it or it's not. I hope that it doesn't. I think that the game has been spoken about so well, and it has done so well in regards to its reviews, even though, there were some really bad takes that were done in spite of this acquisition of Bethesda. I think that the extra spite came in the way of ABK being closed in either the end of this week or potentially early next week. And Microsoft isn't going to stop there, folks. I mean, we got to call it like we see it. I would imagine in the coming months, potentially the start of 2024, you're going to hear IO has been acquired. You're going to hear that Certain Affinity has been acquired. You're going to hear that Crystal Dynamics and potentially Eidos Montreal have been now added to Xbox Game Studios because they're not going to stop, and they shouldn't stop. They need studios. They need content. They need original content. And obviously, a perfect example of original content that will move the brand, that will make its way into the upper echelons of the zeitgeist of gaming is a Starfield. Starfield has sold consoles. It's selling in places like the UK where they are unbelievably behind PlayStation because that is their home turf. And this is just the start of it. And we're getting some big numbers, which we will get into regarding how well Starfield did on just box sales in the UK. It came in 5th, and when you look at the list of what it's behind, that's a pretty stout list. But listen, let's rip off the Band-Aid, if you will. Let's gloat. Let's take the Xbox victory run, if you will. Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be exclusive, and it's probably going to be a permanent and exclusive. If you're on PlayStation now or whatever it's going to be, whether King believes there's not going to be a PlayStation 6, you're going to get an app, or it's actually going to be a console sometime in 2028, you're not getting Elder Scrolls 6. You will have Elder Scrolls Online, but you won't have Elder Scrolls 6. And I have a feeling, Fuzzy Belvedere, that the same treatment that we saw come the way of Starfield by certain journalists and certain journalistic lackluster integrity websites like IGN, who listen, I'm sorry if you feel again, I want to paint a broad picture here. Not everybody at IGN is a heel. They have so many amazing journalists there that are currently working now that should get their flowers. Unfortunately, they're overshadowed by the Dan Stapletons of the world, and it's unfair to the journalists who actually take a look at gaming, like a Destin Legary. I mean, I think he looks at it with a keen eye. I wouldn't say a fine eye. He doesn't prefer one or the other. He gets out there and when he gives smoke where it needs, and he gets overshadowed by some of the shenanigans that have come out of some of these websites, specifically for him, IGN. But before we get into the integrity-less journalists of the gaming world, let's talk Elder Scrolls 6. This is going to be, I think personally, even bigger than Starfield. And I say that, Fuzzy Belvedere, because it is a long-running IP that dates all the way back to the OG Xbox. Elder Scrolls 5 has sold millions upon millions and continues to sell these millions of copies where you're playing this on your refrigerator. And as great as Starfield is, and I just came up with a mission just now that just completely blew my mind, so random, so crazy, I couldn't believe it. Well, here we are. Elder Scrolls 6 confirmed in documents that we have in front of us. Let's talk about it, man. What do you think?
Wow. I think it's going to be one of those things where the journalists are, like you said, are going to, give it the Xbox tax. We'll see PC get a higher score than on console. But I think the bigger thing is its timing or will it be, the swan song for this current gen or the, one of the starting lineup for the next gen? That's going to be the trickiest question because I know it sounds great, or it'd be kind of catchy to have Elder Scrolls 6 in 26, but knowing how much they're going to put into this game and given the extra polish that they put into Starfield, they're going to want to do the same when it comes to Elder Scrolls. So if it's 2028 for release, then this is going to be a great launch lineup title. But if it winds up being 26 or 27, it'll be a great swan song for this generation. So either way you look at it, it's a win-win. More than likely, it'll probably be cross-gen, let's just say, because considering it's already in development, they're going to want to at least have it for this console as well as the next. But, it'll have some extra goodies for probably the next gen, as far as visuals and things along those lines. Or if they do kind of like what has been hinted as far as like a multi-purpose console or something like that, like a Switch-like or Switch-esque kind of console, that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, Elder Scrolls being exclusive, I mean, pretty much everything Bethesda now that isn't already existing on another platform going forward is Xbox exclusive, and that is to include PC platform because, Xbox is PC, PC is Xbox. But man, it kind of sucks if you're an Elder Scrolls fan and you are only PlayStation. I would say go ahead and start building up that PC now, or just buy a Series S to at least have that as like the alternate, exclusives box for you. But yeah, it's pretty cool to hear that they're, it's definitely an exclusive and that they targeting or kind of targeting 26, but who knows? It'll be sometime between 26 and 28, and it will be a big release considering how well the previous or the series as a whole has been doing. So this is going to be, I guess, the next game of the generation, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting when you consider, and again, I love looking into the future with Xbox because for Xbox fans, or it's been a difficult road to get here, right? Like they made a lot of promises in 2018, and we have to be fair here. Phil has kept all those promises, and we got the bag of chips. WebDave, they have done so many things right. They had a few hiccups, obviously when they talked about gold going up to $120, that was a call to arms for the community, which we all answered that call. Redfall didn't launch how they wanted to. Obviously there were some chinks in the armor in regards to, or kinks in the armor, if you will, on how that game was developed, and there wasn't enough eyes and supervision on it, which is why it launched the way it did. So that was a bit of a disappointment, but there hasn't been many like bumps in the road for Xbox. So now what we look at is we have, I say we as Xbox fans, the future is like wearing pairs of sunglasses bright, because they in the document, which I sent around to everyone, and was sent to me by numerous people. Shout out to Kia Walker, who's always DMing me with amazing stuff. 2026 is when they were targeting. So we all think that it's not going to be 2026. It's probably going to be 2028 when they launch the new Xbox. And when you consider that they're going to be launching the Elder Scrolls 6 as an exclusive on their new box, it's already right now in 2023 putting Sony behind a bit. Say what you want about their incredible first-party games, Spider-Man being absolutely astounding looking. That showing was amazing. I can't wait to play. But when you consider from Starfield to the 2028, how many first-party bangers will be releasing for Xbox, I'm telling you right now, Sony is going to have a very, very hard time keeping pace. They really are, especially when you consider how many studios they have versus Xbox, how many years it takes for their games to come out. Obviously, if they're doing new IPs, 5 to 7 years, folks, right? So that kind of goes in between that timeline. And when you consider how many games Microsoft has in development, they're in a bit of a pickle. Let's talk Elder Scrolls 6 confirmation of an exclusivity. How big of a deal is this for Xbox?
Huge. I mean, they already said it, and they have to keep saying it because there's some hardcore fanboys out there that are delusional.
Indeed.
That seem to be grasping at straws or seem to think that they're going to will it into existence or whatever, but not happening. But yeah, so yeah, it's great news. It's we expected it. The people that kind of follow the system and know what's going on, all of us here, I'm sure, are probably going to end up playing it when it comes out, especially since it's going to be included in Game Pass. Just so you know, in case anybody didn't get that memo. But Boom, and I know Crazy Lou has got his tinfoil hat somewhere. Crazy, I know you do. So you might want to put it on for this.
Oh,
so let's think about that. That in the future, when this game does come out, it was expected to be, they're going to try and downgrade it and play it down. It's not any good. It's it's Bethesda's worst game, blah blah blah. Kind of like they're doing Starfield, which is one of the greatest games of all time. But so they're going to try to downplay it. But who's to say that by 2028, when the new system's getting ready to come out, that there's not a new market leader, or at least the market leader gap is extremely closed because of all of the great content that Microsoft is going to be acquiring and releasing, including all of ABK. We'll find that out soon, I have a feeling. So all those things, if you think about that by the time this game comes out, maybe it will get the flowers it's going to deserve. And we know it's going to be a great game. And this game is definitely 100% built from the ground up, from the absolute ground up, to work on the Series X or whatever the next gen, if they're already planning on making it next gen. But it's going to be working on this on the Microsoft ecosystem. And they're not working any of it to have to be the restraints from the PlayStation's SSD. Just saying. So you don't have to worry about that. It's going to be an amazing game, and it's going to be built absolutely to the highest specs that they can do, and they are going to put everything in it. And Microsoft and their team is going to be there to help Bethesda every step of the way to get the most, every drop of power out of the system to make the game look phenomenal. I mean, they have over 5 years probably of more of work to do. They got Starfield done under their belt, so they know what can be achieved, and I think they're going to go above and beyond when it's ready for that game to come out. So I'm thinking that it won't necessarily get the hate that Starfield is now, for the simple fact that you know, some of those guys that are being paid by Sony and pushing things because of their you know, of the actual market leaders' dominance, those things might change. And so by the time this game comes out, you know, their bread and butter might be people wanting to know Xbox information and not just Sony fanboy information. Just saying. That's my thought there, Ben.
I mean, look, there's going to come a point, folks, where I think that Xbox is going to be too big to ignore. Now, some people will argue, like I would argue, I think Xbox is too big to ignore now. I think that they have done a fantastic job in 2023. I think that, you know, when you look at Redfall, yes, it's a hiccup, sure, but they have been hitting on all cylinders. Obviously, Starfield, regardless of the, you know, the intentional bias that was thrown at it by numerous websites, some of the big ones too, that tried to, you know, slow down this behemoth, it didn't work. I mean, listen, folks, the game is going to be coming up on a couple of weeks old, and all everyone is doing is posting screenshots and talking about how long they've played. I've just crossed 4 days, and I'm nowhere close to beating it, and I don't want to beat it. The next game I'm going to play that's going to be big is going to be Spider-Man, Sonic, and Mario Wonder. Those aren't until October, so I can enjoy the rest of September playing as much Starfield as I want. Now, of course, Lies of P comes out, and that's going to be big for me. That's going to have to take a back seat to Starfield. Party Animals is something I want to dabble in because that looks like a lot of fun. But look, at the end of the day, there is something to be said about this exclusivity coming out. You know, and obviously, where do we learn from this? Well, there's a lot of people, but I specifically focused in on Tom Warren, who did a bevy of tweets this morning, you know, having all of these emails. There's a Jim Ryan email that we're going to get into as well, where they find this ABK deal. It's pretty interesting that when you consider all the crying that Sony did, and they tried to bamboozle this deal, the email were like, yeah, no big deal. We don't care. You know, whatever. They should have. We'll read it in a sec. But let me catch up on the super chats before we bring in Crazy Lou Gaming. The first one of the day comes to way of JFX88, drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, when do you guys think Xbox tax started? I want to say probably after the Bethesda acquisition. I want to say that saltified a lot of people. I mean, Dan Stapleton, he said it in the tweet that if Starfield and Elder Scrolls was ever made exclusive, he wrote this in a tweet, that there will, in all capital WILL with stars, be ramifications for that happening. Well, he kept up his end of the bargain and he gave it a 7. So there you go. Silent Cipher, which, by the way, brother, if you want to join us Friday, hit me up on the DM. Let me know if you're available. We'll have you come back on. Drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Dan Stapleton is the video games journalist embodiment of the Debbie Downer meme. Very true. Very true. Pat F, who's been a channel member for a month, says it's great to actually get to watch the show live today. Hello to the panel and keep up the great work. Boom, brother. Thank you so much for that, Pat. Super appreciate you being here. And of course, thank you for supporting the channel. JFX88 drops an additional very generous $10 super chat and says, this was a hit job to stop Xbox from getting Game of the Year. The year where PlayStation is lackluster and Xbox has a momentum, they will snub Starfield at every turn. We all know it's definitely Game of the Year. I mean, that's a fantastic point. I don't know if you can deny this. Now, there have been games in the 80s that have won Game of the Year. This game is currently sitting at an 83. It should be sitting at a 93, to be honest with you. I understand people have, you know, some people suggest that it's a slow start. I never felt that, but it's fine. This is an amazing game. I think it's too big to snub. And I think Keeley even knows that. Again, he says that it's not his decision, that he doesn't have a stake in it. He simply allows for the 100+ you know, journalists and organizations to make their picks. We'll see. I mean, we will see. I mean, look, I'll say this, folks. Do I want it to be a part of the conversation? I think it deserves it. There's 1,000%. But when you look at the score that Forza Horizon 5 had when it released, how many players? I think they announced like right before the Game Awards, it was upwards of 18 million players. And that got the snub. And they said it was too niche to be in the conversation. I mean, really? I thought a game is a game is a game. You want to categorize it, that's fine. But I thought a video game is a video game. And if it's a good video game, it should get its flowers. So, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. If it's snubbed, we're going to talk about it. Am I going to be disappointed? Sure. It is coming off a year where Sony's helpings, man, they're lackluster. Spider-Man, listen, it's going to be a great game, but that's their only helping from Sony first party. Is that enough? Well, apparently for their fans it is, but I don't know. We will see. Jacob Novick drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Xbox has officially put PlayStation to shame this year. No cap. Sure. I'm dying to play and enjoy Spider-Man, Indiana Jones, and now TES, the Elder Scrolls 6 Xbox exclusive. Yeah, I mean, there's something to it. Crazy. Well, let's get your hot take on this. Again, this is I mean, we all kind of figured that this was going to happen. Like, I didn't wake up this morning and say, oh my God, a revelation. But the confirmation with the document that was put out there by Tom Warren of The Verge basically just confirms that Sony is not getting this game. And rightfully so. Sony shouldn't get this game. I'll say this to all Sony players. There are two ways out of this. Either you buck up and you buy an Xbox, or you buy the Xbox when it launches and you jump into the green pool, or you spend those ducats and you buy yourself a big beefy PC that's going to be able to play this game, because you're not playing it on your PS6 or whatever it is going to be cool. All right, you may want to, you may download some prompts to fool your brain that you're playing this on using a PlayStation controller, but you're not going to play it. It's going to be an Xbox exclusive. That's the way of life. I think you guys. I think it's safe to say, Crazy Lou Gaming, that PlayStation has enjoyed first place for a very long time with almost no pushback from Microsoft for years. Now Microsoft, anyone old like me, you remember those comic books back in the days when you would turn to the back page just before the comic was going to end, and it'd have those comics of the guy kicking the sand in the face of the nerdy, unworked out kid, right? And a couple of panels goes by, and that kid gets cock D and then beats up the bully. That is what is happening in simplistic terms. Crazy Lou, let's talk about it.
Man, that was some exciting news, though. I mean, even though it was like a big revelation, as you said so, but it's exciting to hear that Elder Scrolls will be exclusive to Xbox. I'm happy to hear about that. They made it official, and it's great for them. I'm happy for them. And here's the thing, though. They gotta. I mean, this is what they need to do, right? Microsoft needs to grab this, get a hold of this.
Yep.
Like I've been saying it in the DMs. Last week I was talking about the numbers. They need to market their numbers. They need to market what's been going on with Starfield. They need to show everybody what the heck has been going on with this game and how this game has been, getting into our hearts. I mean, Fuzzy, but when you look at him down there, he's having this Starfield effect. All of us have been having the Starfield effect. And what's the Starfield effect? We have not been sleeping playing this game. That's what we've been doing this past, 2 weeks. It's been crazy. And them announcing that Elder Scrolls is going to be locked in there, exclusive, that's freaking awesome. I'm just happy that they're doing that, because, hey, it was time for them to push back. It was time for them to push back. It was time for them to wear those gloves and say, hey, I'm going to go tick this fight over there. Let me see. Oh, this is what you're going to bring. This is what we're going to bring. We got Bethesda, and sooner or later we're going to get ABK. I hope we do, though. Fingers crossed. Let's see if that deal closes, because, man, oh, man, that day that deal closes, we're going to be happy, jumping around, excited. And if it doesn't, we're still going to be happy, because what the heck? We're going to continue moving on forward and see what's going to come up, what's Microsoft going to buy. But, hey, like I was saying, though, Elder Scrolls 6 locking in, that is freaking awesome. Happy for them that they finally announced this. Happy that also news has just been coming by with Microsoft and 2028, launching a new console. And that is another fantastic news. And I do hope that, when they launch that console, they got to make a special thing with Elder Scrolls with it. because that's going to be pretty close to the date. And I'm thinking that if Elder Scrolls is going to take them like a while to make, I think that would be the perfect time to launch it with the console. That would be a perfect console launch with the game. Because since everybody, I mean, how many players are playing Elder Scrolls now? Is it 48 million players now? I think it is. Last time I checked the numbers, I think
it's huge,
48.
dude. The numbers are crazy. How many people playing that game?
Yeah. So imagine that they lock it in, with that console in there. Oh man, the console launch exclusive, that'd be freaking awesome for 2028. I mean, that's the date for them to launch that game. I have my fingers crossed because hey, it's gonna take them a while for them to build that game. It's gonna take them a while, especially after this game. It's so big. And talking about the Xbox tax, I have an issue with that. I find it funny when I read the reviews and how you came out, Boom, and you talked about that tax. I read the reviews and I find it funny how people say, oh, there's nothing to do in this game. I'm like, there's nothing to do in this game. What do you mean? It's like they keep saying like it's empty, like there's nothing. Every time I travel to a galaxy, I find a new mission.
Yep.
There's something new comes up or something else comes up, right? Not only that, to level up in this game, you got to really run around. I mean, I did a side quest. I'm not going to tell you which side quest it was because I want to throw in spoilers. I completed the whole side quest. It took me like 5 or 6 hours to complete that side quest because side quests in this game are long.
Yeah, they're big.
They're big. They're not short. They're big. It's like 5 or 6 hours, pretty much, close to 8 hours, between 5 and 8 hours. That's how long the side quests are. If you skip the dialogue, it'll probably be 3 hours. But hey, it doesn't matter. They're long, and in those side quests, literally just doing those side quests, right? I just leveled two levels. That's it. I just leveled up level my character 2 levels up. That's it. And just those 5 or 6 hours to spend in that game. So how come you come and tell me that there is nothing to do in this game when there's a lot to do? Or either you're building your ship, or either you're building your base, or either you're traveling to another galaxy and somebody comes up and says, hey, I need your help with this. Do this for me, and I give you this. And you know what? We go ahead and do it. Why the heck not? Because hey, it's fun. And really, I'm just amazed on how these reviews come out saying there's nothing to do out there. What? That's crazy. So much stuff to do in this game. And you talking about how huge Elder Scrolls is going to be, man. I hope it's big because hey, this game is. I mean, I have never seen a game with so much stuff to do in it. Never. Yeah. I've never seen such a game like this. It's crazy. And I can imagine that if they can include more stuff in Elder Scrolls, oh my God. And man, just happy that they finally said it. It's going to be exclusive. And like you said, Mr. BoomStick, or either get an Xbox or build yourself an PC. That's what's going to happen.
It's a reality that I think people need to settle in on. Now, maybe this isn't going to be the case with Call of Duty because, well, why would Microsoft want to lose money? So obviously games like Call of Duty and a few of the games that they have under the Activision Blizzard logo now that are multi-plat, like a Diablo, it would be foolhardy to pull a Diablo away. When Diablo 5 releases in, I don't know, 10 years from now, it's going to be multi-plat because it's going to make Microsoft a lot of money. New IPs, like the rumored open world space adventure that is supposed to be like a first-person shooter a la Mass Effect, just in first person, from Infinity Ward and Treyarch, that's probably going to be an exclusive. And another reason why you're going to want to buy an Xbox. But look, real quick, Pat F. Drops an additional $2 super chat and says, in your opinion, any big surprises at the Tokyo Game Show? Yes, I think there's going to be quite a few of them. One of which I honestly believe it's going to be Final Fantasy VII remake getting a release date. Because if you look at the 3-month exclusivity on Rebirth, they don't specifically say it's for PC. They don't say that. They just say that it's a 3-month exclusivity. I think Square Enix, losing $2 billion was probably enough for the new CEO to say, enough of this Sony shenanigans. We need more money coming in, and we're not going to no longer box out Xbox. So, I mean, I look, we're going to be covering here on the channel. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing a little bit of a prediction show along with some other news that I'm working with right now. On Thursday is Tokyo Game Show. Obviously, Japan's they're way ahead of us in regards to time. So I think when we go live, we're going to have all the information there. I'm sitting down with Retri as of right now. I may bring in another person or two if there is some big bombastic news for X Vlog Live, which of course is 12 p.m. Eastern on Thursday. But we're going to have you covered here on Double Barrel Gaming. Before we get into the media shenanigans, I do want to bring up some of the stuff that's come out of what Tom Warren put, and this is pretty interesting because now one of the emails we knew about, the second one we did not. So this is what Tom Warren posted earlier this morning, and he says, "Here's a full email between Jim Ryan and Chris Deering, former head of PlayStation, discussing Microsoft's Activision Blizzard acquisition." He says this: "Deering says that he's not losing any sleep about the acquisition and the future of our baby, and that Microsoft should have announced an electric car instead of this acquisition." Pretty ridiculous. So here is the Jim Ryan email that we already knew about. It says here, it's not an exclusivity play at all, but they're thinking bigger than that, and that they have the cash to make moves like this. "I've spent a fair bit of time with both Phil and Bobby over the past day. I'm pretty sure that we will continue to see Call of Duty on PlayStation for many years to come. We have some good stuff cooking. Keep your eyes peeled. I'm not complacent, and I'd rather this hadn't happened, but we'll be okay. We'll be more than okay." So this is the one from Chris Deering to Jim Ryan. And he says this, folks: "Phil Spencer was on CNBC saying that the acquisition would cement Microsoft as a player in mobile games. Strikes me as more of a King play than Call of Duty, but King sold to Bobby for $5 billion and has now grown to be worth 50 pound billion. If it was an Xbox exclusivity play, Spencer would have locked up Microsoft console exclusivity for Call of Duty for the next 3 Call of Duty releases for maybe 5 billion pounds. The major cash out will lure most of the talent to take the money and run as fast as their contracts will allow, leaving Microsoft with a gnarly management challenge. I bet Eves is smiling like a Cheshire cat. If this was a play to end run PS5, etc., I think it was massively overhauled and will not meaningfully succeed. I guess Microsoft can piss away that kind of valuation without being more harmed than helped, but I'm not losing a wink of sleep over the future of our baby. Hope you agree. P.S. They would have been better off announcing a new electric car than the ABK acquisitions." Wow. I mean, like Jim Ryan, the first one, we already knew about that one. The second one, I did not, Fuzzy Belvedere. Let's get your take on the slanderous email. It's funny when you kind of look back at that email now, it aged very poorly.
Yeah.
Because when you consider what Microsoft is going to have in their arsenal, yes, Call of Duty is going to be here, there, and everywhere. It's going to be on GeForce Now. It's going to be on PC. You're going to be able to play it on your tablet. You're going to be able to play it on your computer. You're going to be able to play it here, there, and everywhere. And that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But there is something to be said, the Game Pass effect. That comes the way of John Wolf, good friend of the program, great friend of the program, I would dare say, who's in the chat right now. The Game Pass effect is going to play a huge part in seeing a conversion. People are going to leave PlayStation, and I say leave. I'm not saying people are going to wrap their shit up and bring it to the local pawn shop for a couple of bucks to buy an Xbox. That's not what I'm saying. If you are invested in PlayStation, you're going to do what many of us on this panel, many people in this chat right now are doing. We support multiplats. We all have a Switch. We all have a PS5. Now, maybe we don't use them as much as others, but that's okay. When a game comes out that we want, we will then turn on the console. I feel that you're going to see this new revelation where the multi-plat household is going to be a thing. And I think that when you look at how Microsoft currently really does affect buying, like they tell you, you don't got to buy the game. $15 or $17 a month. You get the game day and date. Here you go. You just buy an Xbox. And you know what? If you don't want to play on your, you don't want to buy an Xbox, not a problem. Fuzzy, we got all these other solutions. I think that email has aged poorly. What about you?
Yeah, it definitely aged poorly. And the whole thing with the electric car kind of deal, considering that's what Sony did, and we've yet to hear any further as far as that thing coming to fruition. But I think the big play is they're not as concerned with the hardware sales or the software sales. The reoccurring revenue from the subscription is more than enough to cover their expenses for producing the games, the salaries, the whole nine. So and with it being exposed to like 30 million plus, which when they start counting the conversion of the Xbox Live people that are now in Game Pass Core, I'm going to say it's going to probably reach 100 million before the end of this year. That's the 60 plus million that were on Live to begin with, plus the 30 million that were already with Xbox Game Pass. So I think overall that email was ill-advised or badly timed, only because it wasn't about exclusivity. It was more so to at least, like with the Game Pass effect, at least have that draw to their platform where, okay, if you already have a PlayStation, do like Boom was saying, most of us have it as like an exclusives box. So all the PlayStation titles are purchased there. But when it comes to like some of the multi-plats, especially ones that are multiplayer, a lot of us just that it's natural to buy on Xbox. And if it winds up being in Game Pass, that's an even better proposition, because if you're subscribed, it's already in there for you. So I think the grand scheme of things is PlayStation is going to have to figure out how to appeal to their customer base with these games as a service. Like that's kind of the weird, irony with this whole email is that what Xbox has been doing for the longest time with games as a service or these multiplayer games that keep on bringing you back for either new seasons, new skins, and so forth. That's what PlayStation is going to have to give a try, because the numbers show in games like Fortnite and many others that customers will spend more money in those games than if you sell the title to them once. Like you sell a $60 or $70 title to a customer, that's great. They might buy 2 or 3 of those a year. But if you can get them into a free-to-play game and they spend $20 here for skins for this season and another $10 for this season, and then towards the end of the year, there's another skin that they want, they spend another $10. It's easy to get that added up. Plus, there'll be multiple games where they might be doing that. So if they're into Fortnite and Apex and other like games as a service, then you're going to get more money from the customer. And when it comes to these game stores, that's where all the profit is made. It's not in selling the box copies. It's buying it in the store, them taking the 30% cut, and then hoping that you come back and buy more V-Bucks or more coins or whatever the case may be to get your character this particular skin, or get them, Air Jordans for your NBA 2K character and stuff. So it's going to be interesting over these next couple of years, because PlayStation is going to be looking more like Xbox with these games as a service, and Xbox is going to continue with those games as a service and finally have more single player focused games. So, people are joking before about, will this be the last generation for Xbox? And, I think King was right with there possibly not being a PS6, because the way things are, I won't say the way things are going, because they are selling the hardware at no pause or no holdups as far as that's concerned. But hardware only goes but so far. The software is the biggest thing. And even Jim Ryan himself said that the PlayStation base is not enough. That's why they were putting the whole slate on PC. And it doesn't seem like some of those are quite landing on PC, because by the point that it gets to PC, the PC customers already moved on to whatever the latest and greatest game. If they do day and date PC, it might be a different story, but they're afraid that they might cannibalize their console sales, which I at least on Xbox, I don't see that as the case, because a lot of us that have console and PC will either wind up buying it twice, or in most cases, you get the dual entitlement anyway, where if it's through the Microsoft Store, you already get a PC version for a lot of titles as well as the console version. But I think Jim Ryan is. It's starting to show that his tenure at PlayStation might not be that long. Like I give him another 2 years before they possibly move him out, unless these games as a service land like flawless. Like I think Marathon probably will, but that's going to be a multi-plat, so that may not generate as much overall for them. But if Fair Games lands well, then Jim Ryan stays. If it doesn't land well, I think not that they would be able to grab Sean Layden again because he's happy over at Tencent now, but I think they're going to have to get
$10. I don't think he would come back to Sony if they begged him.
Yeah, because they kind of threw him out the door.
Oh, they
out
threw
the back
him
door.
out. They brought him out to the back, whacked him on the head, and tied him up and sent him packing, which was not a good way to treat him. I really liked what Sean Layden was for PlayStation. I think a lot of their fans did as well. So yeah. I don't think he would come back.
He was about roadmaps and showing you the games and whatnot. But that's a whole different story. But Jim Ryan's email, it's going to follow him, and it's probably after 2 years, it's probably going to be hard for him to find another location to land unless it's like there's another Stadia popping up or something. So we'll see how that goes. But it sounds more of like him being salty that maybe he wasn't exactly right with putting up this much of a fight and it backfiring in his face. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, he obviously thought his connections with the CMA. The CMA thought their connections with Lena Khan. They thought they had a potentially stacked deck, and it turns out it blew up in all of their faces. And ultimately, the deal is going to close, as we know, and it's going to close potentially, by end of week or next week, I would imagine. Real quick before we bring in Web Dave into the conversation, EJ Jackson, welcome to the program, brother. He drops. Very generous $1 super chat. Thank you for the generosity, Mr. Jackson. We appreciate you being here. 901 the Gamer, who's been a channel member for 16 months. Thank you so much for supporting the channel as you do. Definitely appreciate you being here as well. Web Dave, are you there, kind sir?
Oh yeah, I'm here, bud.
Let's get your take on this. This email, again, the first one we knew already, right? That was that came out in some of the earlier, quote unquote, leaked documents during the the trial or the hearing. We did not know about the second one. And again, obviously, some people would be, oh my God, boom, it's so scandalous. It's just a Sony employee talking about another, rival company. I'm not surprised. We saw some of the emails that came out of what Matt Booty said. He was like, yeah, we're going to outspend Sony to death. So these things happen. But like I said, let's talk about this email aging poorly, considering what is about to transpire with ABK. Again, Call of Duty is going to be everywhere, and I don't really care. Who cares? It's about what they're going to do with all this new talent that is going to finally be able to be pulled off of the salt mines of Call of Duty, and they are going to be able to make some games, potentially even returning games. I know everyone's asking for a reboot of Prototype. People like myself want Singularity 2. There's a lot that they're going to be doing. I mean, hey, I know Indiana Jones is around the corner, but who wouldn't want Microsoft, who now owns the IP, to take Pitfall and revamp it and bring it back in like a Lara Croft meets Uncharted type of a situation? I mean, the doors are going to be blown off of creativity for Xbox game studios.
Yes.
Let's talk about how poorly this has aged in regards to what was said between Chris and Jim Ryan.
Yeah, it didn't age well. I mean, but like you said in the beginning, that it is, it's. I obviously didn't think this email was going to come out.
Right, of course.
I didn't think anybody else was going to see it. Surprise! Those things come back to bite you if you're not careful. They, but it's like when you don't think anybody's going to hear you, and you're like, trying to build, I guess, confidence or a base to, or to support your narrative that, everything's fine, everything's going to be fine. This is, we really have nothing to worry about. And it's, it's either confidence or arrogance that's it's really unfounded. Obviously, as things went on, they put up a fight. The reason they put up a fight is because they don't want to lose their first place, and they don't want to. It's not that they don't necessarily want to lose first place, or that they will lose first place anytime soon. It's the fact that they don't want to give any ground. They're really happy with being so dominant in all the markets, so that they can continue to get a foothold, and eventually they would love to destroy and kill off Microsoft. To them, competition is the pocketbook and where their money goes. But we know that competition breeds better quality, and we really want that. I mean, I don't want Sony to go away. I like my PlayStation. I like some of the games they put out on it. Not a big fan of the Spider-Man, but that's just not for me. But that's okay. Everybody else it is. It's just a matter of we need the competition, including from Nintendo, and they're doing their thing, but they're still in gaming, And I think Microsoft is on the right path. They've got the right things in place. Game Pass, they're doing it very, very well. So since they're able to get a foothold and really get the momentum going, and the momentum is now going. Now that Starfield is out, and we have all these other big titles that are coming up the next year and a half, we know we're going to have some monster first-party games coming. We just know it. So now Sony is aware of it, and people don't really know. There's some things that are planned for Sony, but we don't know when Wolverine's coming out. Is it going to come out next year? I doubt it. I mean, maybe toward the end of the year.
I don't think so,
then,
dude. They're working right now up into the 11th hour to get Spider-Man released. I mean, I think the earliest we see Wolverine, and again, it's going to be amazing. Let's call spade a spade. It's Wolverine. It's probably holiday of 2025 at the earliest, in my opinion.
I agree with you. And when you were talking about the ABK deal, and that is going to get done. There's no doubt about it. There's no stopping that train. There's still people that go, well, it may still get blocked. It ain't getting blocked, people. You crazy? Microsoft could close over them right now.
Cost them $5 billion in a walkaway fee. It's not getting blocked.
Yeah, and and the thing is, the biggest thing to think about is that they can actually close over them. The only reason they're not is because they know they have more things in the pipeline that they're going to buy. After this deal is done, the board's going to say who's next. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And be ready for it, folks. There's going to be a lot of things bought up after this ABK deal is done. It's not going to, I don't think there's going to be a big cooling off, like, we're going to cool off for like a year. I don't think so. I think they're going to start hitting while the iron is hot. There's a lot of things on the table, a lot of things that are up for grabs. And my choice, Boom, Guitar Hero, man. They got to bring back Guitar Hero.
Dude, did anyone see the pictures that I put out? I was doing some cleaning, and when I got my new setup, right, and I had under the desk, it's been sitting there. I wound up picking it up brand new for like I think $40 or $50. I got brand new. I mean, never even turned on DJ Hero. It's worth a lot of money. Like I think people that were offering me like $500, $600, $700 for it. I was like, yeah, now I'm a 360 fan, so I'm gonna keep it. But yeah, I have my guitar. Like I literally have my Logitech guitar hanging here. Guitar Hero. Well, I mean, Phil Spencer said it, right? Like he said it. He mentioned it. If Phil Spencer is mentioning it, I'm sorry to say, I think that is something that would come back in a big way. And you're right, Guitar Hero would be dope. But I'm going to just throw this out there to the ether. Please, for the love of Job, if you're going to make exclusive like albums or bands, can we go with Kiss? Can we get a Kiss? Can we get a Kiss game of full on every one of their best songs? Because you did a Metallica, right? You did an AC/DC. Come on.
Hey, Boom, I want to say it right here, right now. If they do announce Guitar Hero and they announce that there is going to be a Kiss special edition, special group you can order pack, all of us on the panel have to dress up in makeup. Just the makeup.
Dude, I will do it in a second. I don't care who I dress up on. I will wear the big hair and everything. There you
go.
I'll even do the nipple rings, folks. I'll get crazy.
Phil Spencer, if you're listening and you want to see us all look absolutely amazing in kiss makeup. There you go.
Well, whoever gets the longest tongue, me, Gene.
And on that note, pause.
And on that note, shout out to Patman Jones, who's out there putting up some pretty triple X Starfield pictures. He had me dying. I mean, those pictures are very scandalous of Sarah and him in a bedroom. I don't know how you did it, but man, the guy's talented. But listen, that's a horse of another color, folks. Let's bring in Crazy Lou Gaming. Crazy Lou Gaming, look. Obviously, those are two executives talking about a rival in Xbox. So it doesn't surprise me that they're being scandalous or being, who they are. They're rivals, so they're gonna talk like rivals do. But I just have to say, for just for the conversation we're having, boy oh boy, has that email aged poorly.
Mm-hmm. Hey, it comes right back at you and bites you, man. It really does. It's insane. I mean, you got to watch out what you talk about, especially nowadays on social media, emails, stuff like that. And hey, you pushed this deal to this point that literally your dirty laundry is coming out. Oh man, shame on you. Shame on you. You should have just sat down with Microsoft, came up with the good negotiations. Like how even King said it. King said if it was Sean Layden, the situation would have been different. It would not be like this.
It would not have gotten this far. I think the deal would have been done already because if you're right, I think you're onto something. No one has made mention of that. If Sean Layden would have been in the seat, they'd have been like, you know what? Let's sit down. We know each other. We're friends. Let's work this out. And it would have been a done deal. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if it would have been Sean Layden, would have sat down, he would have talked to him and said, hey, let's sit down. Let's negotiate. Let's see what we can do. But Jim just wanted to push this to see that he can get a better supposedly, and that's people saying that he does have a better deal now, 10-year deal. But the thing is, even though you got the better deal, but right now there's stuff coming out that you have written and you have said that is not look good on your side of things. It doesn't. I mean, literally, as a CEO of a company, it really looks bad that you are trash talking this deal, like, hey, they should have gone, with electric cars. Why they should have done that? I mean, Microsoft is doing what they gotta do. They gotta go out there, they gotta get games. Because hey, guess what last generation everybody did? Everybody would say Xbox has no games, and Microsoft is now getting games. So yeah, what do you have to get all fit about that? I mean, just get happy. Sit down, make good deals. That's what you gotta do, because why not? Why the heck not? Why the heck, instead of having this old bad rivalry, why don't you just sit down, get along, and try to get more players into gaming, or try to find ways to get more people to jump into gaming instead of having this rivalry, this cult that I pretty much call it, all these fanboys coming out there having all these fights, defending their company with honor, which is crazy. Oh man, really, it's just sad. And just reading that email this morning, when I saw it, I was like, oh man, really, there's going to be a lot more stuff going to come out, and it's not going to look good on the PS side, especially his side of things, because he's, oh man, it's just terrible. I just really, like I said,
I'm going to say though, just out of curiosity, I made mention of this to Everborn Saga, who was talking to on the phone, as I do pretty much every morning. Isn't it funny how Jim Ryan has been in witness protection? Like, that guy has not been seen or heard of. Nope. Like, that guy is in Colorado in a house somewhere with dreads. Like, that guy is nowhere to be found, bro. Seriously, like, you have not heard from that dude. If you saw him, you'd been like, wait a second, who are you? Hey, that's not the head of Sony. Keep it moving.
Here's the thing, though. We did not even see him in the state of play. Did we see him in the state of play? I was like, where is he, though? There's this lady here. Who's this lady?
Last time we saw him, it was taped, and it was in June, and it was a real shit show for Sony. But yeah,
yeah. But like I said, though, I mean, it's crazy that everything's gonna come out right now, and there's still stuff gonna come out, and man, it's gonna hurt them pretty bad. It's gonna hurt them pretty bad, really bad. It's just bad for business. Just taking this deal the way they took it. I said it before. It was really bad on their side. They should have sat down behind the scenes, talk with Microsoft. Of course, I understand. As a businessman, you got your points. I understand that. You have to push, a little bit, but maybe you just push too far, because there's a limit to your pushing where it goes. I mean, you got to put. I understand why he pushed, which again, as a businessman, I would have done the same, but I just would have had a limit on that pushing, because I understood what he was trying to do, right? He was trying to show these regulators that you got this big company with huge amounts of money going out there, buying everything they can buy. Yeah, I get you, buddy. I get you that you want to go out there, you want to push the regulators to see if you can try to stop this big company from acquiring a lot of stuff. Good point on your side right there. But you just pushed too damn hard. You should have stopped at a point, sat down, negotiated, and hey, it would have been a lot better for the PS fanboys, or for the PlayStation side on the consumer PlayStation side of things. It would have been a lot better for them. But hey, what can we do? We're going to see a lot of more stuff coming out, and it's going to look really bad on him, not on them, on him. And since he represents Sony, it's going to look really bad on the company too. But yeah, we're just going to sit here, talk about it when we see it. And yep, Jim, you did a bad move there, but what can we do?
Yeah, it is what it is. Look, at the end of the day, like I said, for Xbox gamers, we're paying $17 a month for what seems to be limitless content. I mean, a perfect example, and I think it's safe to anyone to admit, this might be the best September Game Pass has ever had. It might be the best month Game Pass ever had at all. When you consider, like, literally at the end of the month, we had a big a big release. You have Starfield. You have Lies of P, which is going to be a big game. That game is going to score very well. It is basically a Bloodborne 2 without it being called Bloodborne 2, except it's with Pinocchio. A really wild take on the tale, and of course, Party Animals. I don't think people are downplaying that game. It is going to be effing huge for Xbox. And that's a fantastic month. But listen, let's get into the back and forth that I had with Paul Tassi. Now, Paul, I'm a big fan of his work. I put this out there. I don't always agree with his take. I'll tell you that right now, but I don't agree with everyone's take. And I think we should all have a discourse with one another that we don't agree all the time. I think that's great for conversation. But before we get into what he said, how I responded, how he responded, and of course how I responded on the back end, let me catch up on some super chats. A couple of big ones here. We have let's see. Okay. We have Elio Monterioso. Monterso. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. I'm terrible at names. Emilio drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Xbox was backed into a corner where they had to show their fangs and show people there aren't pushovers. Emilio, I couldn't said it any better. I think he's absolutely onto something. I think that what wound up happening was, you got to understand something, folks. What we are seeing transpire, or what we saw presented to us in June, was something that started in 2018. I say this all the time, post E3 2018, when Phil Spencer got up on stage and he announced these 5 monster acquisitions with the creation of the initiative. That was the starting point of turning this monstrosity that was Xbox around. And where we are 5 years later, 2023, the fruits are now finally bearing, or the trees or the plants are finally bearing fruits or vegetables, however you want to use the acronym. It's fine. It's spell it out however you want to spell it out. But the bottom line is that we're now starting to see how things are going to play out. And look, Sony's been in first place for a really long time. They're still in first place. Spider-Man is going to move mountains of consoles for them. It's only on PlayStation 5, which of course is good for PlayStation 5 because people are who don't have a console and are going to want to play this. Well, they're gonna want to buy PlayStation 5, and that is great. Spider-Man 2 is going to be amazing. It's probably going to be the best of the trilogy from Insomniac. I mean, all you gotta do is go based on what you saw. I know a lot of people are like, I got fatigue. Boom, I hear you, but I'm a Spider-Man stan, and like I said, personally, the Symphonite Saga means something to me, so I can't wait to get my hands on a controller and play. But with that said, we have Raiden Blade, good friend of the program, who's been a channel member for 28 months. Brother, thank you so much for supporting the channel for as long as you have. He says Wolverine is coming to Xbox. Disney Marvel will not allow that extra money to be left on the table like Spidey did. Spidey contract and Wolverine are different. Look, I'll say this, Raiden. There is something to be said about where Disney finds themselves now. They're in a bit of a pickle. Marvel is a bit, listen, I'm a Marvel stan. And I can tell you right now, we got new information. Wesley Snipes is coming back in Secret Wars to reprise his role as Blade. We have Nicolas Cage is going to reprise his role as Ghost Rider for like an Elseworlds during Secret Wars, where you're going to have all of these different heroes converging on the 616. So it's going to be dope. There is something to be said about a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I mean, I'm sure Insomniac, and there's a deal somewhere, and there's a contract signed. But there is something to be said about, look what happened with MLB The Show. If that should really give you a blueprint of what is money being left on the table. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's probably unlikely. But there is something to be said that if MLB The Show was being played on an Xbox, why couldn't Wolverine? I don't know. But like I said, even if it's not, I have a PlayStation 5 or whatever the next PlayStation will be. I will have Wolverine, and I will enjoy it. Highlander 001, very generous $10 super chat, says, all I saw today on Twitter were ponies saying Phil Spencer lied. If you watch the ZeniMax Microsoft Roundtable, which I did multiple times, at the 10-minute mark, he said outside of contracts, all games are Xbox and PC. He also said that games would be brought to the PlayStation on a case-by-case basis. And I'm sorry to say, folks, I'm going to be honest with you. If I have the keys to the candy store, sorry, Sony, you're not getting any candy. No soup for you. That's how I will handle it. And that's how Microsoft is going to handle it. Because you know what? They're going to want to sell their new box, whatever that looks like. And I'm telling you right now, folks, if you just look at what Starfield did, just imagine what Elder Scrolls 6 as a launch exclusive for the new Xbox will do. It's going to move mountains. And that's exactly why they invested in nearly $8 billion in Bethesda, not to give away on every platform. You want to play it on PC? You can play it on PC. But you can only play it on PC and Xbox. Sorry. Highlander 001 drops an additional $5 super chat and says, Jim Ryan was called back to Japan and was told to stand on the tarp as they were having the office painted. If you get the reference, you are old. And I get it because I'm old. That is hilarious. Scott Gamer Dude, welcome, brother. Long time, no time. He drops. Wow, holy crap. A very generous $20 super chat says, hello, Boom and Panel. I watched your 9/11 show. The words you spoke to lead up to the moment of silence was a class act. I salute you and your lost colleagues. Brother, thank you. It's very kind of you to say. It took a lot to keep it in here because when I talk about it, I kind of get choked up because, like I said, I spent a significant time down at Ground Zero, and it wasn't just the police department that lost people, man. It's crazy how many first responders died that day, bro. Like, I was looking at the list, 343 firefighters died that day. Like, it's hard, man. It's hard, but thank you so much for the generosity and, of course, the kind words. I would not have done it any other way, being a first responder myself. Silent Cypher drops a very generous $5 of chat, and this is cool. He says, my family and I will be playing Party Animals tomorrow when it releases. I can't wait. We played countless hours of Gang Beasts as a family as well. Yeah, I'm going to be playing with my nephew, Tyler. I can't wait. I think I'm even going to see if Mrs. Boom and her sister are going to want to play. That game looks like a lot of fun. Gamer by Choice dropped a very generous $10 super chat and says, Sony is showing us that they are concerned for future Sony need. Okay, Sony is showing us that they are concerned for the future. Sony needs console sold, and console users are not growing. So Xbox is getting ready for the future. Sony is trying to find a path to its future. That's very well said. I don't think they have a path right now. Sony is very the same. They want to sell you a box. They want to sell you a boxed game. They're not putting it into their service, and people are going to buy boxed game. If the game is good, Last of Us 3, it's going to be great. Spider-Man, whatever comes after this, is going to be great. A New Horizon game, I'm sure it's going to be great. That space game that Cory Barlog is, rumored to be working on is probably going to be great. And they will sell boxes, but I will tell you this. The one thing I'm looking forward to is to how many people unsubscribed from PlayStation Plus after that nonsense price increase. $40 for the top tier with Ugats on the back end. I'm sorry. We will see by the end of the year on how many subs that they lost. But listen, let's talk about the conversation that I had with Paul Tassi. Now, Paul Tassi on Saturday. You want to say something, Lou?
Oh, I was going to mention that news came out that there was already people unsubscribing to the service because of the price increase. A lot of people got mad.
Yeah, I saw on my timeline, dude, when I posted it and I took a picture that I unsubscribed, it was a very popular tweet. I don't do a lot of those, but it was a lot of people were like, yeah, they were pissed. Okay, so Paul Tassi on Saturday. While I was getting ready to listen to my Saturday shows as I do, Kayasante had to cancel his show due to some issues behind the scenes, and of course I was checking out Living Split Screen with Seal Rain and obviously Pong Soul. So he put out a tweet, simplistic in its nature, but I responded to. So let me read you what Paul Tassi wrote. And he says, pretty wide range on a similar number of Starfield reviews, despite there really being not much difference at all between the versions. The Xbox half has the recent 4s and 6s out of 10s, and the PC doesn't. So the PC is currently with 67 reviews, sitting at an 87. The Xbox Series X reviews is sitting at 77 critic reviews, sitting at an 83. So I wrote to him, and of course, being the gentleman gamer that I am, I of course did it respectfully. I wrote clear as day evidence that the Xbox tax actually exists. I think what's even funnier, Paul Tassi, is Starfield is doing so well for Xbox, it's triggering people to overstate their reviews, exposing the bias that is more apparent now than ever. So, of course, Paul, being the gentleman that he is, he responded and he wrote very funnily. He was very funny. Oh God, that's not what I meant. LOL. So again, I was talking to Kayasante. I'm not sure what he meant. We'll discuss it like gentlemen. So of course, I responded. I wrote, I'm not console warring Paul Tassi. I'm just pointing out that the 4s and 6s that were given were done out of spite and without journalistic integrity. Hate for a platform is easily distinguishable by many of the immature journalists populating the industry, and I'm sure that you're well aware of it. So he responded in kind, like a gentleman, and he said, I would not agree with that statement. I have been accused of this exact thing before, less so after my 9.5 here. So I finished off with the conversation with him saying, that is perfectly okay, Paul Tassi. We don't have to agree on the subject matter, though I want it to be clear. This is not console war rhetoric. This is a very real sentiment and one that is very apparent with the current class of journalists populating the sites like IGN, GameSpot, PC Mag, and many others. And I got a lot of real positive messages from people who agree. So Fuzzy, let's go to you first on this. Again, it was a nice conversation between me and Paul Tassi. He's still, he doesn't have me blocked, so obviously I didn't, rebel rouse or be a jerk about my opinion. I think I was very fair.
Yeah.
But I think I think that the more that we discuss this, a lot of people are like, it's just journalism. You got to accept it the way it is. No, I'm not accepting anything because I have a voice, thanks to the fine folks here, thanks to the panel here. And we are going to talk about this because there is an Xbox tax. And the reason why it's even more apparent now is how this is going to affect games moving forward. Is Forza Motorsport going to see an Xbox tax because of continuing that of revenge for ABK? Because ABK is going to be announced in a week potentially too. When that happens, Fuzzy, are journalists who are Sony favorites going to converge and say, we're going to fix your ass, Microsoft. We're going to get you Xbox. And now that we hear, wait, keep watching the socials, folks. Wait till you see when it sinks in that Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be a permanent exclusive. You're going to start seeing this so-called Xbox tax that no one wants to believe that's real. I know it's real. You know it's real. Let's get your hot take, Fuzzy.
Well, even Paul knows it's real for the fact that even his own website, Forbes, after he gave it a glowing review of a 9.5, I think there was like a hit piece published not even days later. So it wasn't by him. It was somebody else in the Forbes repertoire that posted that more scathing review or like an opinion piece on Starfield. So there's definitely this sentiment that if it's Xbox only, then you got to point out every last flaw. And I talked about this before Starfield even came out. Like if you look back at Jedi Survivor, as bad as that was with all of the bugs and everything when it launched,
tons.
It got 9s and 10s, clear as day. I understand. There's Starfield, or not Starfield. There's Star Wars fans out there, but if the game is not playable or playable smoothly, then that should be taken into account. And yes, they're going to fix the bugs, but they didn't, have that same leeway for EA when Battlefield came out. They gave it lower scores based on those bugs. So if the same bugs are in Star Wars, then it should get similar scores. But there's been numerous cases, and I know someone had asked earlier when the Xbox tax started. I think it kind of started right around between Sunset Overdrive and Quantum Break, because those weren't first-party studios. And people were already nitpicking like, oh, well, who would want that game? Like there was a lot of interest for those games, but it seemed like because it was only on Xbox, and the media hadn't fully, gone nuclear on Xbox at that point. They were still, rivaling in the whole, TV and, 900p versus 1080p. So they were looking to pile on Xbox anywhere they could. So that's kind of where it started with those two games, because they weren't first party. So what is Remedy doing making a game for Xbox? What is Insomniac doing making a game for Xbox? Like that's the enemy kind of thing. And ever since then, like you saw how people came out against the 1 year exclusivity for Tomb Raider. I mean, even supposed Xbox people for IGN were complaining about it, but yet no such complaints when it comes to Final Fantasy.
Oh no, they cheered on the Final Fantasy 6, exclusivity, and they booed the Xbox exclusivity. Yeah, it's we don't have to say who it is. I think people know who we're talking about, but that is a real thing.
Yeah, and ever since then, it always seems like Xbox games are scrutinized more, even when it comes to it being a multi-platform title. When it comes to Xbox can run it at higher resolution, run it better than it does on PlayStation, or as good as it does on PC. Well, then again, some games don't wind up coming to PC as far as the multiplats, but like there were divots against Red Dead Redemption on Xbox, but yet it was like the premium version because of what the Xbox One X could do. So it always, well, it doesn't always, it never surprises me when it comes to a lot of these journalists out here exposing themselves as being primarily PlayStation fans and giving a game, a couple of point hit because it's on Xbox, which some have even quoted in their statements for the review and stuff. So it's like the Xbox tax has been a thing for some time. Every game that winds up being an Xbox exclusive gets a higher scrutiny, even if it's eventually coming to PlayStation. You'll notice once it comes to PlayStation, even if there weren't any patches to fix anything, so miraculously it gets a higher score, but the game plays the same or sometimes not as well. Like Medium was another one where it scored better on PlayStation than it did on Xbox because of the 1 year exclusivity of it. So it it's just a thing that we've come to accept, and I've even predicted it before Starfield was released. Like I didn't think it was going to get this bad. Like I thought it was going to be an 88. Like a lot of people thought it was going to be 9s and 10s, and I'm like, no. Some of these major outlets are going to dock it a few, so it's going to drop to like 88s. It's not going to reach 90 because of that. And sure enough, it looks like each day it looks like another reviewer is like, oh, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10.
Yeah,
so they can bring it down even lower.
The hit pieces keep coming. It's crazy. Yeah.
And considering how many PCs probably run NVIDIA cards, you would think that the score for PC would be lower than it is on Xbox, but it's not. So it's just a weird thing that we've kind of come to accept. And someone that's in journalism, I know Paul Tassi is not going to want to fess up to it. Not that yes, he's been accused of this stuff, but it's not the case in this scenario. But he knows one of his coworkers did that hit piece like a couple of days after his review. He knows that like the Dans of the world over at IGN didn't do this because they really felt the game was a 7 out of 10. They did this because if you look at all of the content they have for this game, if they gave it a 9 or a 10, people would only be on the site for, a couple of days. They would have probably missed all of the, how-to guides or, the 15 things that I wish I knew from start or, the cheat codes and things like that. No, if you give a good review, none of that gets looked at. You give a bad review, people engage because they want to argue against you on that. And then while you're there, oh, wait, they have a step-by-step on how to get the mantis or a step-by-step on how to get this legendary weapon. Yeah, I'm not saying that's a fact, but it seems more than I would say it's not a coincidence that, they went that route. It just seems too lined up to get you to stay on that site to see the guides, because if it was really a 7 out of 10 game, why would they put so much effort into those guides? Like, show me another 7 out of 10 game that they did that for. I'll wait. So yeah, it's Xbox tax is a thing. They may not refer to it as Xbox tax, but if you're a PlayStation guy primarily and the game is only on Xbox and you're tasked to review it, you're already going to feel a certain way about it. Like, it's hard to say that people are going to be fully impartial. Like, about the only way they could be is if they were primarily PC, and then it would be a matter of if the drivers and all that stuff are up to snuff at that beginning, which, considering how, with the exception of probably this game and a handful of others like Baldur's Gate, most PC games that have come out this year have been a travesty or a mess as far as the optimization. So I don't know. I just look at it as expect that, Xbox titles are going to get a 2 to 3 point hit. The exceptions to the rule is when it's already known that it's only on Xbox. So Halo or Forza, although kind of like if this Motorsport drastically gets a lower rating than what Motorsport 7 or Motorsport 6 got, then I would kind of wonder, but I'll wait to see once I have the game in hand. But everything that I'm hearing and seeing so far, I would say it should be at least, if not better than what, Motorsport 7 did, and no loot boxes or as they referred to them as loot boxes when they weren't really loot boxes, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, Xbox tax is a real thing. All you have to do is look at a multi-plat game and see that even when it runs better, even last gen on the Xbox One X scored lower because, it can't be that, Red Dead Redemption looks better than it does on my PS4 or my PS4 Pro.
Yeah, 100%. So. No, I mean, that's a fantastic point. Valerian in the chat, Dave, brings up a pretty interesting point. And I did not know this. This was brought to my attention this morning by Everborn, where he confirms that Dan Stapleton reviewed Starfield on Xbox PC, but gave the score for both Xbox and PC, while Jez couldn't. You know what I'm saying? He gave a 7 for 2 different platforms because he didn't want to take the time to play on both. So
Yeah.
again, is that Xbox tax? Is that laziness? Is that full of shittery? I don't know what else to say, but let's talk about the Xbox tax. Now, granted, I'm not expecting. Got to understand, folks. You can't expect Paul Tassi to get out there and admit that there is an Xbox tax, because what ultimately happens is he blackballs himself. The industry doesn't want it out there that there is a tax. He's not going to be. He's a journalist. I'm not saying he's protecting anyone. He's protecting himself, as he should. So he wrote something. He brought up a great point. It kind of spun in a way that maybe he didn't anticipate. I don't think I did anything wrong by, making the comments that I said. I think it was incredibly fair in what I told him, and I think it's clear as day that there is. I mean, just look at the multi-plats on how they're reviewed. I don't care what multi-plat that you pick. If it's on a Xbox and it's on PlayStation, PlayStation is scoring 2 to 3, sometimes as much as 5 points higher, because it's on a PlayStation versus the Xbox. Folks, that I'm not making this shit up. Go check it out. Dave, let's talk about the Xbox tax and what I had to say with Paul Tassi.
Yeah, you were right on point. Every step of the way. He obviously was, kind of sidestepping. But if there's anybody, and I mean anybody out there that tries to tell you that the game isn't getting downplayed by certain outlets and or fanboys strictly because they're either bitter, jealous, don't like the fact that it's not on, or like that one reporter, that clearly he gave it a 7, and he said in an earlier tweet that he clearly, there'll be repercussions if that deal goes through and they buy, if it's not available, and it was, and he came through on his promise. So, there isn't any clearer in your face than that it happens, because he said he was going to do it, and then he came with these lame excuses, and then for him to just copy and paste or mirror his score from one to the other because that was just easy for him to do. It's garbage. He knew what he's doing, and it's the people out there with integrity, like yourself, who played the game and can actually speak to the game. The game, even on its worst day, is an 8 out of 10 on its worst day. If you get find bugs or whatever, there's just not possible that the score is any less than that. And I'm not biased. I have a PlayStation. Yes, I prefer the Xbox ecosystem, but the game is absolutely phenomenal for all the things that it does and all the different types of, shipbuilding and flying and, first person shooter and RPG, everything all in one big bundle. There's just no way. And if you can say that honestly to yourself, that it's just not possible. So I just ignore those people, because they're people that obviously I don't respect and will never listen to anything else they say, because if they're going to do this to a clearly amazing game, which is going to be nominated for Game of the Year, definitely, and if it doesn't get Game of the Year, there's really some shenanigans going on. But for sure, it's better get nominated. If it doesn't get nominated, there are a lot of people that will never watch the Keeleys again, because obviously it'll be garbage. Anyway, my point.
No, I mean, listen, I'd like to believe that Starfield is too big of a force,
exactly,
not to be nominated. Because again, yes, IGN's on this panel, or this board, GameSpot, PC Mag, yes, but there are also people that did like the game from these organizations. They just didn't review it. It's hard to imagine with 50 plus 9.5s or higher that this doesn't get the nod. And again, granted, there are a lot of really high reviewed games this year, but as we've seen in the past, games that were 80s could win Game of the Year. So I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm just saying that we will see what the journalistic integrity, actually amounts to come the Game Awards. Because, like I said, I think that when you consider how polarizing Starfield is to the gaming industry and how big of a deal it has been for gaming as a whole, I mean, it has encompassed everything that is gaming. No one seems to be out of the way of this behemoth. I don't know, but Crazy Little Gaming, let's get your final thoughts on this, brother, regarding the Xbox tax. You believe it, Dave believes it, Fuzzy believes it. I know it's there. People don't want to admit that it's there. It's there. What are your hot takes on this, man?
Easy and simple, Mr. BoomStick. I mentioned this before because, hey, I don't understand why these reviews are like this now. I mean, why don't we just grab somebody, like I said it before, especially on IGN. There's a lot of people that actually love this game. You should have grabbed somebody that actually knows and enjoys this type of game, and you should have had that person review it. Not review it, because here's the thing, what I find funny about the reviews, right? Fuzzy mentioned something, and I found it real funny, is that, because it's on the Xbox, let's give it a lower score. Why? Because we want the clickbaits, we want this, let's talk bad about it because it's an Xbox thing. Why don't we just review the game because of just being the game? Not review it because if it's on this console. Just review the game because of the way it is. It's just a game. Just review it. Give it the score you want to give it. Give it the good score it deserves. It well deserves, right? Like I said earlier on the show, people say there's nothing to do out there. What's you crazy? There's always some stuff to do. I mean, there's even insurance. There's even insurance spaceships selling you insurance in this game. I mean, seriously, that's how much content this game is. I mean, dang. It's funny how these reviewers are just throwing this thing out there, trying to make it look bad, or let's look for something bad, post this on their bugs and all this stuff. Speaking about bugs, let's speak about two games that have been buggy this year, right? I mean, people jumped about what's it called? Oh my god, I forgot the name, and I played the heck
Star
out of
Wars.
No, not Star Wars. The one that came out for Xbox. Oh my god, Redfall, right? We saw Redfall came out, and it came out buggy, right? And I saw people jumping on there. This fire, Phil, let's get this on the road. Phil's fault, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I understand. All right, cool. But look what happened on PlayStation. I mean, you got 3 games that pretty much, 2 games that came out, right? You got Forspoken that came out a buggy mess. We did not see nobody saying, let's fire Jim. How come you let this game come out like this? They should have jumped square and say, hey, fix this thing. No. Nothing like that. And you also saw Final Fantasy, which I think the resolution dropped to 700, and it was running.
Oh yeah, the resolution had dropped down to a crawl. Correct.
Oh my god! And nobody came at that. I mean, they just want to jump on Xbox and just blame everything on Xbox. Oh, they're doing such a bad job. Oh my god! Seriously, and like I said, they should just review the game as for the game, not because it's on this platform. No, forget about that. Just review it. I think it was GameSpot. Was not GameSpot. Oh my god, GamePro. GamePro used to review the game the way that it's supposed to be reviewed. They give it a fun factor, they give it graphics, they give it sound, they gave it all this cool stuff, and they just literally just reviewed the game. It didn't matter what platform it came out, they just reviewed the game on how it had to be reviewed. That's it. And that's what they got to do. They shouldn't be like, because it's on this console, the sound great, just for getting clicks. I mean, seriously, what's wrong with you guys? Just for getting clicks and seeing how everything shows around, that's crazy. And man, I've seen a lot of bad news on Starfield, which is sad. So, is there a tax out there? Yes, there is. Why? Because nowadays people are looking to bank on this stuff, and if there are more haters than more people loving it, then of course they're going to jump in there and throw their 3 cents of hate. Why? Because it's going to get them clickbaits. It's going to get people.
Hate sells. That's for sure.
Hate sells, and it's sad that it does sell. Instead of showing the love, let's sell hate. And man, I'm telling you, reading all these crazy reviews, while not looking for stuff out there. And Starfield is sad. Reading that stuff just makes me sad because I've been playing the game. You have been playing the game. Mr. Webday has been playing the game. And look at Fuzzy. Fuzzy needs a pillow pretty soon because Fuzzy looks sleepy.
Fuzzy's been playing it like a crack fiend. He's playing 3 different playthroughs, man. Are you kidding me? Holy.
Oh, how many? 3 playthroughs?
Three separate playthroughs at the same time.
I have a modded PC one that's starting from get-go with a lot of stuff up front. A modded one that's like level 240 something, and then my legit one that's a level 51 that's on console. All 3 of them going a different route. Like the new one is going the Ryujin route because it's like cyberpunk in space. The other 2 are with the UC. I think the modded one's eventually going to do the undercover against the pirates because I've been killing a lot of them so far. But my legit one, the next one is going to go from UC to the First Collective or something like that to get my Ranger stuff taken care of. But this game, I
sucks you in.
Ship building, base building, the weapons, the shooting mechanic, first person, third person, like this game has everything. So I'm getting my fill before Forza drops. So I'm trying to get it out of my system, but I don't know if it's going to work. Like I said, something crazy Saturday. Like I might miss Forza Motorsport day 1 because I'm still playing Starfield, and that's saying something. So this game is awesome.
Yeah, it is, man. It is. So if there's a tax out there, yes, there is, and because people are looking to bank on this thing, it's crazy, and it's sad that they're doing it. But hey, what can we do? Like I said it before, the negative brings out the positive. Look how many sales have gone through. Look how the game has been doing so well on Steam. I mean, 330,000. Wow. I mean, it's still amazing. And especially being a new title. This is a new IP. It's not like this. They brought like a second one or nothing. This is a brand new IP, and look how well it did. I'm super happy for them. And yeah, it's sad. Xbox tax. There is one. And
it's sad, but it's true. I like the Metallica song. But listen, before we get everyone out of here, and we do outros, I want to thank the over 600 people that tuned in. If you're finding the channel for the first time, I ask that you consider subscribing. We are on the hunt for 14K. I'd love to hit it before the midst of the holidays, so maybe we can try to push for 15. But we'll take 14 before, to end the 2023 campaign. Emilio Montero. Oh, I don't know. Monteroso. There's Monteroso. That's it. Emilio Monteroso. I hope I got that right. Butchering your name, Elio. Thank you so much for hanging out. He drops an additional $5 super chat and says, I was stationed in Germany when 9/11 happened, so I can relate. Yeah, dude, it was, just a regular day on patrol, and this shit hit the fan, and the world was changed after that. Ilio, thank you so much for the additional generosity, brother. Super appreciate it. Gamer by Choice drops an additional $2 super chat and says Xbox has deductions, no taxes increase. I mean, it's true. And Silent Cipher drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. And see, this is finite point. Choosing a person that isn't interested, doesn't like a certain genre of a game to review that game is like having a vegetarian review a steak.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think you could be any more clear. Listen, again, thank you so much for checking us out. Stay tuned. We're going to be having some incredible coverage of the Tokyo Game Show tomorrow's Xbox Factor podcast at noon. We're going to be doing our predictions show. We're going to read what Phil Spencer had to say prior, something that he posted last week that went over a lot of people's heads. I think that we are in for something special. I think we are going to get a surprise. I'll hold what else I think is going to be there other than Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think that is going to be, if it's not launched day and date, I mean, and a shadow drop would be kind of dope. I would love to see it at least get a release date. Hey, it's coming next year. And maybe we even get a Game Pass announcement because that would be kind of dope. Let's start with the outros. And Fuzzy Bo, do you sell your brand? Brother, talk about the best place for anything and everything racing on your YouTube channel. And more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media?
Just want to start off by thanking you for having me on here. Always awesome being on here with you, as well as Web Dave and Crazy Louie. And thanks for everybody in the chat for interacting with us and taking the time to check us out. Don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you haven't already as well. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere, as well as on YouTube. You could just search either Fuzzy Belvedere altogether or Fuzzy_Belvedere. You should be able to find me. You can also find me on FSP later on tonight at 10 p.m. on Fun Speculations channel. Basically, we do talk about all consoles, but mainly Xbox, but a little bit of stuff about PlayStation and Nintendo as well. And then look forward to seeing everybody here, hopefully, for Breakfast with Boom Friday morning at 10 a.m. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again.
Shout out to Edward Lafferty, who's been a channel member for 1 month. Edward, thank you so much for the generosity. He says, just an FYI, thanks to EJ Jackson for gifting the Mortal Kombat code. Dude, I you know what? I got a lot of screens running. I apologize. I didn't see it. EJ Jackson, first of all, thank you so much for the generosity in the super chat earlier. And thank you for being so generous as to put that code in there. Glad Edward won it, and congratulations there. Thank you for the generosity, brother. Web Dave, sell your brand. Last night you did an amazing job with your partner and co-host, Retri, formerly known as Mr. Xbox Game Pass himself and a former member of Xbox Factor Podcast. He's actually going to be joining me this Thursday, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot to go over with everything that's going to happen at the Tokyo Game Show. Sell your brand, brother. Talk about the Gamers Console podcast you have each and every Sunday, and more importantly, where to check out the best one-on-one interviews in the business.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Starting to line up new interviews, starting, I think, next week. So probably either next week or the week after, we'll be back to the weekly drop of content creator interviews that I have. Got a few good ones lined up. One of them really salty, saucy, sassy, gonna be crazy. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that one. That one's hold on to your hats for that one. I'll let you know more about it as it happens, but it's gonna be wild. And man, this we have our members show coming up, which is everybody's welcome to now. We're revamping that. So actually have a bonus Saturday show, which what we try and do is get content creators that can't appear on our Sunday show. So we have a special show just for them, so that they can still be part with our group and everything. And this week we have some of you are very familiar with Steel Rain is going to be our special guest on Saturday show. Excellent. And Saturday show will be Saturday night, but we'll let you know more about it. And then of course we're doing a show on Sunday as well with Retri, and working on getting some guests lined up for that. Hopefully I'll find out something here in the next couple of hours. So waiting to get back, gotta check those schedules to make sure you're clear. We're going to do a giveaway too. A couple weeks ago was my birthday, and a lot of stuff was going on. Couldn't really celebrate it too well, but we're going to make up for that next week. We're going to be giving away I think 5 $20 gift cards. So
very nice,
a little something to anybody that's in the chat. So no hiccups or hitches. It's just a matter of being there and right place, right time kind of thing. So Boom, thank you so much for having me on. Love being here, man. You are the man.
No, thank you for being here. And shout out to Refudged Gaming, not Reforged Gaming, Refudged Gaming. Thank you so much for being here. This Web Dave is nice because we had a very nice interview. And anyone else that disagrees with me is a smear merchant.
Oh, goodness.
Oh my God, I can't.
I did have a good interview with Reforge. I mean, and the reason I did it, a lot of people are like, why would you do that? Because I wanted to get, his perspective. That way everybody can, he laid it on the line. He let everybody know what's what. And I want to give everybody a fair shake. I mean, and there you go. That's why
I'll
I
say
did
this. I'll say in regards to that, Dave, in the words of Coach Green, they are who we thought they were. So and there's that. Crazy Lou Gaming, sell the brand of the Xbox International podcast, where people could tune in, and also let the folks know that there is one in Espanol each and every week as well. Talk about it.
Oh man, Mr. Boosted, thank you for having me on here, man. It's always fun joining you guys, having fun each and every single Monday, hanging out with you, and also the chat. Like always, you guys are always awesome and keep it rocking and rolling. Where you can find the crazy one, you can find me at Crazy Louis Gaming at Twitter, where I say good morning and do all sorts of crazy stuff, which lately I haven't been doing because hey, I've just been busy remodeling, and man, Starfield has been taking my life away. That's the truth. But we gotta get organized, Fuzzy. It's killing us, but we're loving it. We're loving it. And also, you can find me at the Xbox International Podcast on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. ET with Sun and Cypher, Sourblue, and the Big Plume. And also, sometimes on Fridays with Xbox International Espanol with Eternal Shaddai and ASCAP Gaming.
Well, brother, thank you so much for being here. And of course, thanks for the work that you do, not only in the Xbox International Podcast, but of course, in the Spanish speaking community. I think that it really is a really big deal. Love what you guys are doing over there. Folks, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. Hit the like button on the way out. A big thank you to all of the channel members, as well as the amazing super chats that have come in today. We thank you enough. And at the end of the month, we'll be going into what particular breakfast with Boom. I believe it's going to be the 29th. I think that's the Friday. We're going to be doing Boom's birthday bash. We get Mrs. BoomStick and I are giving away $500 in a 2-hour show, and all you gotta do to win is be in the chat as the show is going on. We're gonna do a picker. The picker's gonna pick the winner. I don't know what the denominations. We're probably gonna do $50 gift cards and give away 10 of them, so there are a lot of winners, and all you gotta do is be in the chat. If you are a channel member, you get an extra entry. You drop a super chat, you get an extra entry. And of course, if you win and you're outside of the Americas, Mrs. BoomStick and I will, in fact, get you your prize, even if you are, let's say, on the other side of the pond in England. And even though their money is worth more, we will get you your prize money in the form of pounds. We only use PayPal. So if you have a PayPal account, you can be a part of the conversation. If not, well, we can't do it through Cash Apps because we don't trust those. PayPal, we trust. And of course, I'm going to close out the show, folks, with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids, and he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.